The majority of those who do make it out pass through here. And that's thanks to an unofficial agreement between Thailand and South Korea. After confronting the club's management upstairs, the union members are down here now on street level. But the government and the investors are hoping that this concept, a mid-sized power plant that's solar, will help decentralize the nation's power grid. We're deep in the hills that house this vast cave network. While some groups are using high tech to assist in the search and rescue operation, some, like these from the Park Service, are doing it the old-fashioned way. They're hiking through these woods to link up with some rescue officials deeper in the hills. The governor of Chiang Rai province says that the trapped 13 might not all come out at the same time. They will evaluate each one and bring them out only when they're ready. The NPP isn't expected to come even close to the two main political parties in Saturday's election. We don't know exactly where this aircraft supposedly went down along its border with Russia. It's still unclear what economic impact it could have on the ever-important tourism industry here in Thailand. Your goal, as you say, is to hold democratic elections. What will your role be once elections take place? Now, similar themes that we've heard about the South China Sea territory disputes came out, but they weren't directly naming each other. In other words, the United States didn't say China directly, China didn't say the United States directly. Once some of the Yakuza members leave, they have to worry about a physical reminder that can't be covered up by clothes. As part of an apology or penance ceremony, they chop off the tip of their pinky finger. 2 years ago, ships were rammed when China moved in a deep-sea oil rig into territory Vietnam says is theirs. That's building and moving the economy in this region, which is very important for the globe. 60% of global GDP comes from this region. About 20 people were killed in China. 13 of them came from this community. And that's despite the fact that 250,000 people were evacuated. During the fight, the music led by the Pijava changes tempo based on what's going on in the ring. Kind of like a soundtrack for the action. But it's not just to entertain the audience, it's also to motivate the boxers. Yelling into the hills for their missing boys. 4 fathers in the jungle above Tham Luang Cave pleading for their sons to come home. But the only reply they got was the whirring of a Black Hawk helicopter. After a night of heavy rain, the skies cleared in the afternoon, allowing helicopters to resume searching from the air. Frustrated with the lack of information and progress after 5 days, the fathers went out on their own, checking in with the searchers and looking for answers.
I want to ask the governor how my boy is, and all the other kids. Where are they? Do they have food and water? That's all I want to know. The only thing I can do is just wait and wait. A group of rescue volunteers from Bangkok will use a high-tech laser scanner in an attempt to locate the boys. They plan to lower down a recently located chimney that they hope leads deep in the cave.
The scanner can see through layers of 10 meters and can show a graphic of the cave. If we drop it in the cave, we can see the shape of a human.
More than 1,000 people are now involved in the search, including American troops and British diving experts. But with so many bodies and organizations at the scene, there are also serious logistical challenges. We're deep in the hills that house this vast cave network. While some groups are using high tech to assist in the search and rescue operation, some, like these from the Park Service, are doing it the old-fashioned way. They're hiking through these woods to link up with some rescue officials deeper in the hills. While the searching continues in the water, in the air, and the vast jungle, families are focused on staying strong. Because at this stage, that's one of few things they have control over. Scott Heidler, Al Jazeera, Chiang Rai. New video of the stranded 13 shows a Thai Navy SEAL emblem drawn on the cave ledge where the teenagers sought safety 11 days ago. The words say Mupa 13 Lives, referring to the name of their youth football club, meaning wild boar. Personnel from the Navy SEALs are staying with the boys at all times, who are reported to be in good health after treatment for minor injuries. Rescuers are under intense pressure to get the 12 boys and their coach out quickly. There has been a pause in the monsoon season rain, but it's expected to start falling again in the next few days. Keeping water levels in the cave system down is critical for the rescue. One option is to train them on the basics of scuba diving. Something one diving expert at the cave thinks will work if they use a full-face mask.
Coming in and out, it won't take long. It is basically just a cave exercise. You do it, them sitting on the sand, you put the mask on, they get a feel for it, they get an understanding. Use the through water comms so they understand that they have a communication, they can talk to the diver who guides them out, and if there's any problem, they can calm them down.
The governor of Chiang Rai province says that the trapped 13 might not all come out at the same time. They will evaluate each one and bring them out only when they're ready. The U.S. is one of at least 6 countries assisting the rescue. While getting them out is the goal, providing food and supplies is critical.
The assistance portion and the resupply and being able to provide supplies to those children, that's very, very relevant to the operations that are being conducted and how we're able to support our Thai partners.
In anticipation of that moment, everyone at the cave entrance is waiting for. Rehearsals are being held. And when it's not a Thai soldier playing a role, it's a member of the teenagers' Mupa football club. Scott Heidler, Al Jazeera, Chiang Rai. She risked everything when she ran away from North Korea. But the life she had there was not worth living.
If I got caught, I'd be killed on sight. My bravery comes from not wanting to live in North Korea like an animal anymore. Even if I got caught, it's better than how I was living.
Kim's not her real name, and we're hiding her face to protect her family, still in North Korea. Through what's called the Asia Underground Railroad, Kim reached Bangkok a year and a half ago. I spoke with her in her safe house.
Ever since I moved to Thailand, looking back from the outside, I realized the degree of dictatorship and the lack of human rights.
South Korean Reverend Chun Ki-won helped Kim reach Bangkok. In 15 years, he's helped more than 1,000 of them find new home countries.
I am focused on success because of the large number of lives at stake. I have personally seen people killed in the process of defecting. I was jailed for 8 months in China and sent to North Korea for a security check.
The Korean name for his organization means two become one. His hope is for a reunited Korea. According to Human Rights Watch, Thailand is the safest place for defectors from North Korea. And in fact, the majority of those who do make it out pass through here. And that's thanks to an unofficial agreement between Thailand and South Korea. Once the refugees are charged with illegal entry, they're turned over to South Korean officials. Kim also entered illegally but doesn't want to go to South Korea. With the help of the Reverend, she applied for asylum at the U.S. Embassy. That was over a year ago.
I have been hearing so much about North Koreans getting asylum from the international community. But in reality, it's all words. Nothing gets done. There's no action, and I'm stuck here.
But Kim thinks there could be a turning point ahead.
The new generation is beginning to be aware of their situation and are hopeful that things will change.
But until that change takes hold, or until her asylum is granted, Kim will have to remain in the shadows of her adopted city. Scott Heidler, Al Jazeera, Bangkok. Like millions of Chinese, Zhu Zhengli moved from the countryside to a big city looking for better opportunities. He owns this working-class restaurant in Hangzhou. But out of his rural element, and with the long hours of a small business owner, he quickly became lonely. That was until he met Hong Xing, a performer in a video chat room. They've been chatting for 3 years.
We talk about each other's lives, even about unhappy things. She tells me about her life too. It's a way to let out emotions.
9158.com is the largest video chat room site in China. They have 15 million active users. 24-year-old Da Xia is a full-time performer. She makes $30,000 a year.
In real life, not too many people will pay attention to me, but online I have so many friends. I rarely encounter people who are offensive. Sometimes they say, "Why so ugly?" I try to be patient and friendly.
This is how she and 40,000 other performers make money. The users watching her perform or chatting with her will buy her virtual gifts, ranging from 6 cents for a virtual rose all the way up to $50 for a virtual cruise. The company takes a percentage. The more they like her, the more they buy. The company insists that all the chat rooms are monitored so that none of China's strict pornography laws are broken. But if a user and a performer want to meet offline, that's out of their control. And it's something Zhu Zhengli wants to do.
I consider it a form of entertainment. But also, I consider her a good friend. I will try to find a girlfriend like her.
The company calls each chat room a family and is developing offline connections for the families, linking them in real-life karaoke.
First, sing in our virtual chat room. Then, if they feel interesting, they can meet in offline chat room.
Zhu Zhengli hopes to get the time to meet up with Hongxing soon. A type of friendship he and the video chat room industry here hope will successfully transition from the virtual to the real world. He gets to finally meet his friend, and the companies have more ways to make money. At the end of a tense week, Mohammed Hamael arrived early at Damascus Gate to attend Friday prayers at the Al-Aqsa Mosque. But he's pushed back, like many times before. When there's increased tension, Israeli security forces restrict entry. This time, Muslim men under 40 are banned from going in. 3,500 Israeli security forces have been deployed. 24-year-old Mohammed was born and raised in a nearby occupied East Jerusalem neighborhood.
Every Friday I come here. They prevent me from entering. Every Friday. This is a system of the occupation to only prevent Muslims from praying. If they are Jewish, they will enter with no problem.
So dozens of others, like Mohammed, started their prayers on the street, on cardboard boxes facing Israeli security forces and a steel barricade. Only minutes into the prayers, shouting, and then a scuffle. Israeli security forces chasing a young man who broke through one of the barricades. This sparked reaction from those praying. The security forces pushed them back, some threw water bottles, which led to a short fight. Some of those whose prayers were disrupted by that clash, by those concussion bombs, came back in smaller groups to continue with their prayers. There's several of them. There was a bigger one initially, but then now we still see some straggling back just on the other side of this barricade, preventing them from getting anywhere close to the old city. And over in the Gaza Strip, tens of thousands of Palestinians protested against the Israeli raids on Al-Aqsa Mosque earlier in the week.
The massive crowds that you've seen have come to say, with our blood, we will redeem you, Al-Aqsa. Al-Aqsa is not alone. The resistance in Gaza, in the West Bank, and everywhere will give up everything for Al-Aqsa.
In the occupied West Bank, hundreds also came out after Friday prayers to protest against the raids. So for the hundreds of men who were not allowed into Al-Aqsa Mosque, they say if this continues, they might be forced to hold next week's Friday prayers on the street of a bus stop. Scott Heidler, Al Jazeera, in occupied East Jerusalem. At 23, Tomoko Shikuma considers herself an old soul. She never got along with the girls her age growing up in rural Western Japan. So 2 years ago, she made her way up to Tokyo. Swept into the life of a hostess in a cabaret club, or kabakura.
It was my job to entertain my customers. If something good had happened, I felt happy for him. If he was down, I was too. We were not selling a piece of cake or an eraser. Our service is invisible.
She and the club both made good money on those invisible services, per hour rates and expensive bottles of alcohol. At most kabakura, sex is not on the menu, just companionship. But all that turned into frustration when the club stopped paying her. Tomoko says she's owed almost $10,000. That's when she joined the kabakura union. They help protect the women from sexual abuse and harassment, but mostly it's about unpaid wages. Of their 150 cases, they've solved nearly 80%.
The business owners don't care much about abiding by regulations or laws. They use their own rules.
So the union fights back. Its members swarm into this club early on a Saturday night. They tell the management why they are there, demanding a member's unpaid wages. The club then calls the police, who arrive quickly. No arrests are made. They won't leave until a manager accepts a letter from the union listing the case.
So after confronting the club's management upstairs, the union members are down here now on street level. They're handing out these yellow flyers that details the case against the management of this club not paying salary. Once this protest is over, they'll pack up their stuff and head out to another part of Tokyo and do it all over again.
Some here are not pleased with the protest, telling the police to put a stop to it.
I thought being punched could have been better than the pressure to sell more, as I desperately needed the unpaid wages to make a living.
Even after all of this, Tomoko would not tell young women to steer clear of becoming a hostess. She says it's just as honorable as an office job. They just need to be smart about it, do their research, and talk to the union about which clubs have cases against them. Scott Heidler, Al Jazeera, Tokyo. 65-year-old Satoru Takegaki does not act or sound like a man who used to earn a living carrying a gun. For 34 years, it was his job to protect the leader of the Yamaguchi-gumi family. It's the largest in a huge network of organized crime gangs. He left the Yakuza 11 years ago and now helps other members to leave. He founded a non-profit organization, works with family members, and exchanges letters with prisoners in jail.
I thought that since I left the Yakuza life, I should contribute to society. I could talk about negative sides of being a Yakuza and bring back members into the normal world.
Takayuki Ueyama is a former member, but reintegration takes more than simply deciding to leave. It's about being accepted. And that meant covering up the Yamaguchi-gumi insignia he had tattooed on his chest.
I felt that my connection to the Yamaguchi-gumi was completely severed. When I blacked it out, I felt I could finally take a step in the right direction.
Once some of the Yakuza members leave, they have to worry about a physical reminder they can't be covered up by clothes. As part of an apology or penance ceremony, they chop off the tip of their pinky finger. But some prosthetic clinics like this are helping them disguise their criminal past.
The small clinic outside Tokyo is run by Hironori Hiraoka. He says about 10% of his patients are former Yakuza members.
I don't ask them about their past. I focus on why they want the prosthetic. Mostly the reasons are positive, for weddings or ceremonies for their sons and daughters, out of love for them.
The prosthetics also help them find jobs and get on with their lives. The Botsui Center works to eliminate criminal gangs. We're not naming this representative or showing his face for safety.
When we and the police provide support, we'll tell them to let the potential employees know. They must find a place that is willing to accept their past.
Though the numbers of Yakuza members are decreasing, there are still about 80,000 in Japan. And Satoru Takegaki hopes to reach out to more of them by opening up offices in the cities where the Yakuza still operate, so he can help them refocus their lives with more peaceful pursuits. Scott Heidler, Al Jazeera, Tokyo. 17-year-old Lydia gets good grades and wants to be a journalist. She'd been living in an orphanage in Marinka on the outskirts of Donetsk. But in the middle of the night last Friday, all these children were evacuated by separatist fighters to an orphanage inside Donetsk city.
We just went to bed and the bombing started. It was the scariest thing, sleeping city, sleeping people, and there's bombing.
The night the children were evacuated, a mortar landed just outside the wall of the Marinka orphanage. Also an orphan, Valentina Bobat grew up here. She's now a teacher and checks on the building every day.
I hope God will help us, that the children will come back here, and that we'll have peace in our land.
While there, Stanislav Dogoruk approached us. His mother-in-law's body is in his car. She lived on the 4th floor of this building. He came to Marinka to check in on her. He found her charred remains in her bedroom.
I need to register her death because we need to bury her, but I can't find the right authorities. Thank goodness my wife isn't with me.
Ukrainian officials say 9 civilians died in the 2 days of shelling last weekend. The children got out just in time.
For the 33 orphans here from Marinka, it's a peaceful and welcome change. But how long will it last? There are still hundreds of separatist fighters in Donetsk, and the Ukrainian army is on the move. To the east of Donetsk city, an airstrike in Snizhne. 11 civilians were killed. Separatists blame Ukrainian forces for the attack that leveled an apartment block. The military denied it, saying their aircraft in the region are grounded after a plane was shot down Monday, suggesting Russia had something to do with it. Despite the fighting, Lydia is still hopeful. She's looking forward to going to university in 2 years.
I think we can survive all the troubles, and at the end, Ukraine will be united as it was before. I think it will be the best option, not like now when there is one country inside another.
But with Ukraine's accusation of Russia's involvement in the conflict here, it's uncertain just how soon or if these children will live in a united Ukraine. Scott Heidler, Al Jazeera, Donetsk.